How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5. In the last episode, Shion pretended to be Mion to hang out with Satoshi just a little bit more. As, I don't know if you can say that she has feelings for him. I'm gonna say it. But it's somebody that she can, I guess, get along with during this weird phase in her life where she can't really be out in the open, and she, also can't really be herself out in the open, if she is to be out in the open, if that makes any sense. But yeah, she's been just trying to hang out with him, stave off the boredom, and I think that's also what we're about to see here.
今日もお暑いのにご精が出ますことで。
お、ミオンさんじゃないですか。こんにちは。あれ？それは差し入れですか？ありがたいな。さすがは我がチームのマネージャー。
まあ気が向いたからです。別に監督に差し入れたくて買ってきたわけじゃないので、そこんとこよろしくお願いします。あとさりげなく人を勝手にマネージャーに組み込まないように。
ミオンがマネージャーだったらいろいろ心強いと思うけどね。
Wow, Satoshi also has a sprite of him in the uniform. Interesting.
やってよ、ミオン。マネージャー。
Satoshi-kun smiled at me in a carefree manner. I didn't want to become their manager. It'd be tiresome. I've been coming every week, though, so I'm a quasi-manager already.
まあ本当に気が向いたらその時はやりますんで。で、どうです？サトシ君の打率はどんな感じです？
ええ、頑張ってますよ。彼の打率ですか？そうですね。セブンスマートでおせんべいの袋をどれでも3つ買うとですね。
それってつまり3割ってことですか？へえ、サトシ君って結構な高打率打者じゃないの。
打率は数字じゃないよ、ミオン。ここ一番で打てなきゃ意味はないんだからさ。
サトシ君は自分で自分の弱点をよく分かっているようですね。そこまで分かっているなら、あとは練習あるのみですよ。
Irie signaled to the pitcher, who then threw the ball. Satoshi-kun looked calm, following the ball with his eyes, and then he swung. The whack. The ball flew between the first and second bases and landed in the distance.
おお、やったー！パチパチパチパチパチ。
I clapped, and Satoshi-kun blushed in response. He repositioned his helmet to hide his face.
フリーバッティングや試合が平坦な時はかなり落ち着いたいいバッティングを見せてくれるんですけどね。
But when the pressure is on... Irie smiled compassionately. It seemed that Satoshi-kun really couldn't perform well when it counted. While he was usually good when everybody expected him to perform, he couldn't. I didn't think it was because of nervousness. He just couldn't do it. I think it's a perfect fit for Satoshi-kun's character. He seems calm at first glance, but he's actually slow.
スコアボードとかそういう数字上ではかなりの高アベレージヒッターなのにね。本番に弱いってのは致命的かも。そんなことだからこないだの浮田ジャガーとの試合でもここ一番で凡退するんですよ。
うるさいな。気にしてるんだから黙っててくれよ。
あそこで打てればかなり美味しい見せ場だったんですけどね。残念です。
A hit could have put the offense into the lead, or at least given them an extension. That was when Satoshi-kun came up to bat. Irie wanted him to live up to everybody's expectations, but statistically that wasn't likely to happen. Yet Irie insisted on giving him a chance, in spite of the fact that all the team members had suggested a pinch hitter.
あーもう。
Did they say pinch or pitch? Only one way to find out. Pinch hitter. Ah.
あそこで打てれば完璧なのにな。どうしてダメなんですか？どうしてああいう時に打てないんですか？
仕方ないよ。僕がああいう時弱いの本当だし、僕だって代打を出してくれた方が試合に勝てるかなって思ったし。
I mean, if you think like that, you're gonna perform terribly. That's just how it is. You're messing with your own psyche.
試合に勝つかじゃなくてサトシ君が勝つかどうかが問題なんです。もうなんで当の本人にここまで闘争心がないのかな。普通は逆でしょ。代打に変えられそうなところをここは俺に打たせてくださいって食ってかかるとこでしょ。自分から代打を出してほしいなんて言い出すなんて、もうなんでここまで闘争心がないのかな。
それは私も普段から言ってるんですけどね。まあその辺がサトシ君のいいところではあるんですがね。
普段は紳士でも試合には鬼になる。男にはそういう二面性があっても私はいいと思います。とにかくサトシ君には鬼がない。仮にもひなみざわの人間なんだから、たまにはご先祖の鬼の血を思い出してくださいよね。
I really don't know if that's a good thing to just openly say, but I don't know.
って聞いてますサトシ君。
聞いてるよ。よくわかんないけど、
わかんないけどってサトシ君の話をしてるんですよ。それを
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head. He looked delighted for some reason. A blush immediately spread across my face. I didn't know how to respond.
ミオンは僕のためを思って言ってくれてるんだよね。ありがとう。僕は頑張る。
I guess that's all it takes. Really to, sorry, I was getting a drink there. It's really all it takes to shut Shion up.
サトシ君、
And to really just break her wall.
ごまかさないでください。
ごまかしてなんかないよ。嬉しいだけだよ。
I wonder if Satoshi knows this isn't Mion. Just somewhere deep inside. I couldn't resist his hand. I couldn't help mumbling like he does. Satoshi-kun ran back to the field, leaving me red as a beet.
頭撫でられるの弱いんですか。
撫でる人によります。監督が撫でてきたら関節決めますんで、覚悟の方よろしく。
もうずるいな。
This fucking guy. I love him.
全員集合。
I've actually really grown to like him for some reason.
今日は出席もいいことで
He's
すから
just so fucking
人数を分け
ridiculous.
て紅白戦をやってみましょう。
The Hinamizawa fighters are sort of a lazy team. The members gather simply to enjoy playing baseball, not to fight for victory. The Okenomiya Titans use this field too, but they practice on a different day of the week. They always train hard using dumbbells and stuff. And they're throwing them, bro. That's how they get them good pitches. They just throw the dumbbells. Actually, they do shot put. They use a shot put ball in place of a normal baseball. Our teams split into two groups and started a match, retaining their loose atmosphere.
じゃあ私は記録でもやるかな。監督、どっかに鉛筆ないですか。
いつもすみませんね。はいこれお願いしますね。
I took the pencil and the clipboard. I didn't know how to differentiate between recording hits and errors at first, but by now I was used to it.
頑張ってサトシ君。あんまり応援するとまた打てなくなっちゃいますね。
Yeah.
ほどほどに頑張れ。
I mean, you're still... Yeah.
それはそれでひどいな。
Time passed slowly that Sunday. Huge white clouds appeared in the sky. They made me feel healthy. Humans are born to be active under the sun. One of the parents was acting as an umpire today, so Irie sat on the bench with me. He shouted words of encouragement to the kids while they ran to their positions. Any other baseball coach would constantly berate them, but he was much more generous, like a kindergarten teacher. He let the kids have fun while watching over them. To other baseball players, it might look a little naive.
それでもあの程度の練習量でみんなこれだけの動きができるんだから驚きですよね。
ひなみざわの子はみんな普段から元気に遊び回ってますからね。運動量は町の子とは比べ物にならないんですよ。変なフォームで固めてしまうより遊び感覚の方が伸びるんです。
おお、見事に沖宮タイタンズとは正反対の考え方ですね。あちらの監督と対立するの分かる気がします。
タイタンズさんの考えも間違ってませんよ。試合は勝つためにするものですからね。勝利至上主義は決して間違いじゃないです。みんなで団結して共通の目標を目指すのはとても素敵なことだと思いますからね。まあうちはその目標がたまたま勝利じゃないってだけのことです。
The Hinamizawa fighters and the Ukanomiya Titans have been rivals for a long time. Both teams shared the same baseball field for one thing. And originally there was only one team, but the people living in Hinamizawa left and made their own. Anyhow, we were rivals. The Ukanomiya Titans were strictly about winning, and the Hinamizawa fighters were just about having fun. Surprisingly, our scores weren't that different, which meant our team had something they didn't. And even though I couldn't put it into words, I knew what made that happen.
ほら、赤組さんも頑張ってください。2点差なんかひっくり返せちゃいますよ。白組も油断なくしっかり。
Still, some parents would criticize our coach for being too lenient, but still others would strongly agree with him. Which side would I take? The latter? I couldn't really say for sure. The reason for this was that Irie had the obnoxious habit of sexual harassment. At least this is common knowledge. In particular, he had a fascination with maids, but I should talk about that some other time. Oh no, we know. Satoshi-kun let the ball pass twice to see its trajectory, and then hit it on the third pitch and ran to first base.
お、サトシ君打った。落ち着いてればさすがですよね。
最初はちょっと素振りしただけですぐバテてたんですけどね。それを思えば本当に上達したものです。
サトシ君って文系って感じの人ですよね。よくその彼が野球をやろうなんて思ったものですね。
All the other kids who joined the baseball team loved baseball. They'd go out to play in the fields outside of practice, and that's why they all had an aptitude for it. But Sis never said that Satoshi-kun exercises intensively in school or anywhere else. He only likes to read. And that's why I didn't understand why he started playing for this team to begin with.
それはですね、私がサトシ君をこのチームに誘ったからなんです。
へえ、監督が自らスカウトしたんですか？サトシ君に何かすごい素質があるのを見抜いて。
あ、すみません。麦茶を一杯もらってもいいですか？あ、どうも。
Irie asked for tea in a suspicious manner. While he constantly joked around, I knew he was actually a very mature person. I assumed he was trying to evade my question.
何か訳ありなんですか？
Irie pretended he didn't hear me, but I pressed him on it. In response, he shrugged and began answering the question.
園崎さんなら、あるいは想像がつくんじゃないかと。
What would be Mion Sonozaki's guess? I quickly searched through the data I had on Satoshi-kun. I came up with Satoshi-kun's family circumstances. He lost his parents in an accident a year ago. Since then, he's been having a tough time at his uncle's home.
じゃあ監督はサトシ君の鬱憤とかそういうのを解消させてあげようと思ってこのチームに。
スポーツはいいですよ。程よく体を動かして汗をかくことはストレスの発散になります。また熱中することによってわずかな間でも家庭のことを忘れられるならそれは十分な気分転換になりますしね。
ほらサトシ君ってぼんやりしてるというかのほほんとしてるというかそういうところあるじゃないですか。やっぱり相当ストレスあるんですか？
I knew Satoshi-kun must be suffering even though he didn't look like it. But Mion Sonozaki never pays attention to things like that, and I had to act like she does.
おじさんに引き取られて少ししてから、サトシ君がだいぶ体調を崩しましてね。いろんな症状を訴えるんですが、いくら調べても原因がはっきりしないんですよ。
Satoshi-kun often got sick. After he was taken into his uncle's custody, he suffered from fatigue and migraines. He suffered from a lack of energy and sleeplessness. The coach, Dr. Irie, soon realized. Satoshi-kun never or was suffering from a psychological disorder. Most of the people in Hinamizawa knew how bad Satoshi-kun's environment was. It was natural for him to become sick because he entered that bad environment right after his parents' deaths.
サトシ君は感情の爆発ができないタイプなんですよ。
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit of this in a tip before this section of the game started.
泣いたりとか怒ったりとか、そういう感情が人一倍苦手なんです。
確かにサトシ君が泣いたりとか怒ったりってのはあまり想像つかないですね。
サトシ君のお母さんが再婚を重ねてるのはご存知で？
まあ少しは。
Satoshi-kun's mother had married a number of men over the years. That meant Satoshi-kun had several stepfathers. He had to deal with strangers coming into his home multiple times, so he was forced to be mature. His sister,
精
however,
神的に早熟なんです。本人は自覚していないでしょうがね。泣いたり笑ったりダダをこねたり、そういう時代をあっという間に卒業させられて大人になっちゃったんです。
監督の言い方だと大人ってのが必ずしもいいようには聞こえないですね。
子供は子供らしく過ごすことで成長していくようにできているんです。それを無理に大人にしたらやっぱりいいことはないですよ。
not only was Satoko's current relationship with her aunt conspicuously terrible, I heard that her relationships with her previous stepfathers weren't good either. Satoko always caused problems, and Satoshi-kun would always step in to protect her.
だから、サトシ君の体に変調が出たのは、そういうことに体が耐えかねた SOS じゃないかって思ったんです。
And that's why Irie invited Satoshi-kun onto the baseball team. He told Satoshi that he needed a new member, or something like that.
はじめは渋ってましたけどね。彼と診療の際にいろいろとお話しするうちに少しずつ打ち解けていきましてね。ちょっと見学だけにでも来てみるといい。ちょっとバットを持ってみるといい。なんて感じで少しずつ誘っていったんですよ。
Sports worked excellently for Satoshi-kun. His health quickly improved and he started to become interested in baseball. He practiced batting and he was soon able to swing beautifully and he learned how to see the trajectory of the ball.
なんかわかるな。サトシ君ってコツコツタイプですからね。How to Baseball なんて本をしおり挟みながら読んでる風景が想像できます。
それであれよあれよという間に3割打者なんです。本当によく頑張りました。これでピンチの時にも打てれば完璧なんですけどね。
サトシ君と監督って仲いいんですか？
悪くはないと思ってますよ。悩みとかそういうのを打ち明けてくれたということは私を信頼してくれたからだと思ってます。
I felt a bit jealous of how confidently Irie said that. While Satoshi-kun and I were friends, we weren't so close that we'd open up to each other like that.
あれ？嫉妬してます？
God damn it.
何に？
Taken aback, I blushed. Irie started laughing at me.
園崎さんもサトシ君の相談相手になってあげてください。
まあなれるならなれたらいいかななんて。で
I didn't know what I was saying.
サトシ君ですね。最近また少し体調を崩してるみたいなんです。
え
Uh-oh. Why's the fucking spooky music coming on here? The spooky chime. Whack. The ball flew to the left. But the left fielder managed to catch it. It seemed that the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had gotten worse lately. It was obvious his sickness had become something to do with it, or had something to do with it.
おばさんがかなり大人げないいじめ方をしているらしいんです。サトコちゃん、本当にかわいそうなくらいにボロボロになって。何しろ聞いて。
で、それをかばうサトシ君もボロボロになっているということですね。
I wasn't interested in Satoko, so I switched the subject back to Satoshi-kun. I didn't know much about Satoko. I knew that she was a big part of Satoshi-kun's life, but I'd never been interested in her until today. She must have been building up self-esteem and taking care of her unreliable brother. That was all I knew about her. But considering Satoshi-kun's personality, even that goofiness of his might have been an act. Excuse me. Maybe he was trying to make her feel good about herself by letting her take care of him, if only unconsciously. When he's alone, he's surprisingly strong. I realized that only recently. So I couldn't help but think that his whole life is constantly affected by Satoko. Satoshi-kun managed to get along with his stepfathers even though he experienced some stress. He was even getting along with his aunt. But in order to protect Satoko, he always had to step in and suffer. I didn't really know anything about Satoko, but I had to admit, I felt hostile toward her. I felt jealous because she was monopolizing him.
最近、さとこちゃんへのおばさんのいじめがだいぶエスカレートしてるみたいです。
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I never really thought of it like that. I've always held Satoko in kind of a, I don't really care much about her to a better light after hearing about her situation, but considering this sort of perspective, she really could have just been over-relying on him. But I mean, what can you do? You're a goddamn child. What are you supposed to do when your guardians are literally abusing you?
サトシ君の体調不良もそれに比例しているんでしょうね。
Irie heaved a sigh. As he said, Satoshi-kun had been absent a few times lately. He seemed a bit tired too. He looked normal when when around everybody else, but he looked a bit depressed when he was alone.
監督はストレスに押しつぶされそうなサトシ君を救うため野球に誘ったんですよね。
ええ、そのつもりでした。
こうして野球をやっている今、またストレスに押しつぶされそうになっているサトシ君に今度は何を誘えばいいんですか？
By allowing him to kill his aunt? I mean, what? I'm also gonna be honest here, like, with everything going on, and I don't know when the Watanagashi is gonna come up, but whenever that does come up, I mean, Satoshi is going to disappear a few days after the death of his aunt. Isn't that how it goes? I can kind of see more and more of the reason why he would be the culprit.
どうすればいいんでしょうね。
I mean, at least considering it from everything that we've seen in previous chapters and all that, and whatever else, Irie smiled powerlessly. I couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed about that because Satoshi-kun put his trust in him.
内緒にしてくださいよ。実はですね、チームを抜けたいって、そう漏らすんですよ。最近。
どうして？
疲れるからだそうです。というのは表向き。さとこちゃんと一緒にいる時間を増やしてあげるためじゃないかと思ってます。サトシ君は野球をしている間、さとこちゃんがおばさんにいじめられているかもしれない。その時、さとこちゃんのそばにいられないことが兄として辛いと、そう思っているのかもしれません。
I was left speechless for a while. Satoko again. Satoko. Why did Satoshi-kun have to sacrifice so much for her? Just by ignoring her, his stress would melt away. Of course I knew he couldn't do that. If that were the case, then the blame lay with his little sister. I knew how badly she'd been treated. But that only happened because she made things worse for herself. What? No. Well, I guess kinda. It was her fault that she couldn't establish a decent relationship with their aunt. I think they were just shitty people from the get-go. I mean, we don't really know that, do we? If Satoko were more mature, like Satoshi-kun, her home life wouldn't have gotten so bad. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have to suffer those indirect blows. In the meantime, the baseball team's practice match had become one-sided. It wasn't even worth watching anymore. The members of the losing team were just goofing off. The sky had turned cloudy, too. It was kind of depressing. It didn't look like it'd rain soon, though. The gray sky hadn't brought along any cool air. It just felt disgusting. Irie became quiet. He was looking down around his feet. I, meanwhile, just stared at Satoshi-kun. To me, he didn't look active anymore. He was once able to enjoy playing baseball and he felt fine. But he got sick again just because the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had deteriorated. I couldn't help but say it.
サトシ君をどうこうするってより、サトコをどうこうする方が先決では。
Ooh. It was just a murmur, but Irie had definitely caught it.
それはどういう意味ですか、園崎さん。
別に難しい話じゃないです。サトコがしっかりしてくれれば、サトシ君に迷惑をかけることもない。サトコがそもそもの原因であるってことが言いたいだけです。
うん、そんなことは。
でしょ？だってサトコがトラブルからサトシ君はそのトラブルに介入して矢面に立たなければならないんでしょ？
Again, not really sure. I mean, the uncle's goofing off with women. Who's to say the aunt is fucking better? Just straight up, I think they're terrible people. You don't have to be, nice to them to, well, I guess if you were nice to them, you're gonna get the same fucking result is what I'm kind of alluding here to.
で、その結果、本当は買わなくて済んだおばの喧嘩まで買ってるわけでしょ？
Satoshi-kun never got scared of any trouble. No matter how formidable the enemy, he'd bravely stand up to protect the weak. I knew that because I could vividly imagine it. Whenever their aunt chides Satoko, Satoshi-kun steps in to protect her. The aunt probably didn't like it. Though Satoshi-kun didn't have to fight, the aunt would attack him anyway. The fight would then be between the aunt and him. Satoko might then tease the aunt by sticking out her tongue, hiding behind his back, and pretending to be scared. She'd never think about how deeply he was being hurt. Because of Satoko, Satoshi-kun had become cornered and stressed.
園崎さん、あなたがそんな言い方をする人だったとは驚きです。あなたはさとこちゃんのお友達でしょ？
Oh yeah, that's right.
お姉さん的な立場でしょ？普段も学校でさとこちゃんを慰めたり励ましたりしてるものだと思ってました。なのにそんな言い方をするなんて正直驚いています。
Irie looked at me suspiciously. I could tell what he was thinking about me. I'd said too much. Mion Sonozaki and Satoko Hojo are friends. They're close, so Mion should have been encouraging her after the situation at home got tougher, and that's what Mion was supposed to do. I had totally forgotten about that and spoken as myself. It's only natural that Irie would give me a suspicious look. He might end up changing his impression of Mion Sonozaki entirely. I'd have to apologize to her about this and ask her to put things right. I totally messed up. Even so, I didn't think I'd said anything wrong. I'd objectively looked at the situation and made a modest proposal. To be honest, I was simply afraid that he might leave the team. I couldn't go to the school in Hinamizawa, so the baseball field was the only place where I could see him. I could even say that he was my reason for living. That's kind of stretching it. That's right, I was in love with him. All right, here we go. But I wasn't going to tell him how I felt. For I was satisfied just being by his side. I certainly couldn't ask for anything more. After all, I couldn't reveal my true identity. I had to pretend to be Mion in order to live in Okinomiya. I thought that maybe I should leave Okinomiya in order to be free. But that's stupid. No matter how tough my life might be, I'd prefer to be here with Satoshi-kun stroking my head every now and then. Why did I love him that much? I read about it in some manga once. Oh yes, this means we got some real research statistics going on. You don't need a reason to be in love. I was surprised at myself for being like this.
落ち着け、私。
I breathed out slowly and then held my breath, trying to slow my throbbing heart. I felt a bit calmer. At that point, a clear thought came into my head. I want to be with Satoshi-kun. So, I want him to stay on the team. So, I want to get rid of his concerns and his stress. So what? So, what can I do to achieve all that? My head started to cool down as I heard the umpire shout.
ゲームセット試合終了
And that be that, I guess. I mean, it's a bit of an interesting perspective, a little bit of a parallel to Keiichi and his weird-ass thoughts. He seeing the issue was the uncle. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Some days I see him, some days I don't. A clear sky gets cloudy and rain will always stop eventually. I thought his absence was just like that, but he was actually on the verge of breakdown. Oh. The rainy season was just around the corner, and the air had become so humid that my shirt stuck to my skin. It had been a few weeks since Satoshi-kun stopped showing up for baseball practice. I looked for him as soon as I arrived at the field. He's not here yet. Did I get here too early? I want to see him playing in the field right when I get here. I had started arriving late because of those feelings. However, he wasn't here today either. I didn't even bother hiding my disappointment anymore. Everybody knew by now how I felt. The team members from Mion's class came over to try and console me, but I shooed them away.
園崎さん、気分が優れませんか?
Even Irie couldn't comfort me. I was aware that he too knew why I was like this.
今日帰りますね。気分じゃないです。
ほら、今日は沖宮タイタンズさんと打ち合わせをする日じゃないですか。マネージャーの園崎さんにも同席してほしかったんですがね。
私を勝手にマネージャーにしないでください。私、マネージャーだったつもりはないんですから。
Irie looked down, not knowing what to say.
わかりました。元気が回復したらまた手伝ってくださいね。
もう来ないかもです。マネージャーが必要なら、私以外を募集してください。
気が向いた時でいいです。また遊びに来てくださいね。それにほら、あなたがいないとサトシ君が戻ってきた時寂しがりますよ。
I ignored him and turned around. I had already set up my schedule with Mion, so I didn't have to ask her every time anymore. I tried to contact her a couple of times to ask how Satoshi-kun was doing in school, but I hadn't been able to get through to her. Apparently, the hag had sensed that I might be in contact with Sis. In other words, Sis was being watched. As a result, it hasn't been easy to contact her. Kasai, who had been helping me contact her, seemed to also have been marked. People knew he was loyal to me. I hadn't seen him for a while either. All I could do was wonder how Satoshi-kun was doing. I was frustrated because there was no way for me to know. My head was filled with worries, but something surprised me out of the blue. Somebody called out to me when I was about to leave the field on my bike. Oh,
こんにちは。
Rena is here. I didn't think that she showed up at this point, but maybe I'm wrong. I'd never seen this girl before. Luckily, she called me Mi-chan. There's only one person who refers to Mion that way, as far as I know.
レナか。珍しいね。レナがここに来るなんて。
Her name is Rena Ryugu. I forgot that her name is actually just not Rena. It's got that I in there. I think it's more pronounced like Rena instead of Rena because of the I. But then I don't fucking know because I'm trying to apply English to Japanese. Her real name is Rena, but she wants to be called Rena. So that's what we call her. She moved here in April. Ah, okay. I had some information on her, but it was all ambiguous. Sis was still a bit uncertain about her, since she's so new. It was hard for me to handle someone like that. I didn't know how to act around her as Mion. So I decided to pretend to be in an obvious sulky mood. That way she wouldn't talk to me as much, assuming that Mion was simply feeling bad. Well, that's how I really am anyway.
みーちゃんは帰り？うん。気分が優れないの？悪いね。じゃあ一緒に帰ろう。
I wanted to say that I'd rather be alone, but there's only one road to Hinamizawa, so asking to be alone would look odd. The only way to not seem suspicious would be to walk home with her.
そうだね。帰ろうか。
Rena quietly nodded. I unlocked my bike.
みーちゃん、傘は？持ってないけど。今日はこの後、天気崩れるかもしれないんだって。傘ないなら急ごう。
Are we actually going to Hinamizawa? that is kind of worrisome. But we're going to end it there. I didn't want to get too far into this one, but I wanted to at least start it. Thank you all for watching this episode. I don't know what month it is, but that little script that we saw there, did it say November? No, that said notebook. So I don't know what fucking month it is. But as we approach summer, that's when the Watanagashi is, I believe. I can't remember what month and all that, but I would like to say that it's going to be happening soon. That'll be our turning point as per usual, I'm sure. And Satoshi will be no more. That is my prediction, at least. I mean, we know that he's going to be no more, but that's my prediction of things to happen eventually. Thank you all for watching this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.